October 13th, 1942, 11 p.m., Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands. Two Japanese battleships open fire on Henderson Field, and the men running the bulldozers do not stop. The ground shakes with every 14-inch shell. Over the next 4 hours, Japanese battleships Kongo and Haruna fire more than 900 shells into the field. Bomb craters open across the runway in rapid succession. 6 operators keep their machines moving. This is Henderson Field, the most fought-over airstrip on Earth in 1942. Without these 6 operators and their bulldozers, the Cactus Air Force stops flying. The Pacific War shifts on that blade edge. But to understand what these 6 men were up against and what it cost to build the field they were defending, we have to go back. All the way to the morning of August 7th, 1942. On August 7th, 1942, the 1st Marine Division lands at Lunga Point, Guadalcanal. Within 24 hours, they overrun a nearly finished Japanese airstrip. The strip is 2,600 feet long and covered in soft volcanic muck. The Marines need this airfield operational within days, but the transport ships carrying American bulldozers, power shovels, and dump trucks pull out early. Only about 15% of the USS Fomalhaut's cargo gets ashore. The 1st Engineer Battalion faces a catastrophic gap. A 196-foot hole in the center of the runway alone requires 100,000 cubic feet of fill. Their own bulldozers are still on ships offshore. They find the answer in the Japanese equipment yard. The Japanese had left behind bulldozers, dump cars, and earth-moving equipment when they fled. Operators from the 1st Engineer Battalion climb into unfamiliar cabs, study controls with no manuals, and start their engines. The work begins. The runway extends 1,178 feet under those captured blades. Marines fill the gap using hand shovels, trucks, and whatever the bulldozers push. On August 12, 1942, just 3 days after work starts, a Navy PBY Catalina touches down. Henderson Field is open. The field is open, but it is far from finished. The runway surface is volcanic muck and coral dust that turns to slick mud at every rainstorm. Japanese bombers arrive overhead nearly every day at noon. And the blades never stop moving. On September 1st, 1942, the 6th Naval Construction Battalion, the Seabees, arrives at Guadalcanal. Their average operator is 37 years old. These are experienced tradesmen, road builders, dam workers, pipeline crew. They have built things under pressure before. What the Seabees find at Henderson Field is a 3,800-foot strip with virtually no drainage, ruts deep enough to trap aircraft wheels, and a runway that flooded with every tropical downpour. 6 operators are immediately assigned to regrading the crown. If you want to see how 6 men with bulldozers kept the entire Pacific Air War alive, here's what I ask. See that subscribe button? It's our exchange. Your way of saying this reached you. Hit subscribe if this resonated, drop a like if it moved you, and tell us in the comments what you know about the Seabees. It helps us share more stories like this. Back to the 6 operators and what they faced next. The 6 operators of the 6th NCB's runway maintenance section are skilled construction men who drove graders and dozers on highway jobs stateside. On Guadalcanal, they work the same machines, under conditions no job site back home ever prepared them for. The first machine is a captured Japanese bulldozer, type and displacement unrecorded, but that the Marine engineers had already put to work. One Seabee operator, a road grader from Louisiana, takes over the controls on September 5th and does not leave that seat willingly. The regrading work starts at dawn on September 5th. The goal, cut a proper crown into the runway surface so tropical rainfall drains to the sides instead of pooling across the strip. 6 operators run shifts around the clock. On September 9th, 1942, just 8 days after the Seabees land, a 2nd runway opens 1 mile east of Henderson Field. It is built with a single carryall truck and 1 bulldozer dragging Japanese steel trusses rigged as a surface grader. That is the entire fleet. The new fighter strip means Cactus Air Force pilots can launch and recover on 2 surfaces, a tactical advantage the Japanese cannot easily destroy in a single bombardment. The operator's improvised grading pass made this possible in less than 9 days. On September 25, 1942, some of the Seabees begin laying Marston matting, interlocking pierced steel planking shipped in from the United States. The bulldozers grade each section ahead of the mat crews. 6 operators set the pace every shift. Japanese bombers hit the field daily. Each strike punches craters through the newly laid steel matting and into the coral base below. The Seabees develop an answer no engineer school had ever taught: the crater crew. Pre-staged, pre-loaded, always ready. The crater crew concept is simple, brutal in its efficiency. Trucks preloaded with coral gravel sit under cover at intervals along the runway. When a bomb hits, the trucks roll before the dust settles. The bulldozers follow immediately, blades down. The lead operator on the crater crew drives his dozer at full throttle into position, spreading fill with a single rearward push pass. His second pass flattens it. Timing matters. Fighters waiting to scramble cannot wait more than 4 to 6 minutes for a crater repair. This becomes the daily rhythm of Henderson Field. Morning, grade and extend. Noon, the Japanese bombers come. Afternoon, crater crews repair. Evening, grade and extend again. 6 operators rotate through that cycle without pause, day after day throughout October. Japanese artillery, 2 150mm howitzers hidden on Mount Austen, nicknamed Pistol Pete by the Marines, adds a second attack dimension. Pistol Pete fires day and night, opening craters between bombing runs. The operators learn to repair under artillery fire. The operators develop a technique for working under fire: keep the blade low, keep moving, never stop in open ground. Use the bulldozer's own body as a shield when crouching behind it between shell impacts. As steel protects better than earth. By the end of September 1942, the Seabees have extended Henderson Field to 5,100 feet, over 1,000 feet added to the original Japanese strip under daily bombardment. The Marston matting surface, though patched repeatedly, holds. The runway works. The extended runway changes everything tactically. B-17 Flying Fortress bombers begin staging through Henderson Field. The Cactus Air Force can now reach further north into Japanese shipping lanes. The 6 operators have multiplied what this island can do to the enemy. Then comes the worst night of the entire campaign. October 13, 1942. The Japanese Navy deploys battleships Kongo and Haruna, sending approximately 918 14-inch shells into Henderson Field over 4 consecutive hours. This is the bombardment we opened with. By dawn on October 14th, Henderson Field looks finished. The runway is cratered from end to end. Nearly all aviation fuel has ignited and burned. Of 39 aircraft on the field, only 9 are still flyable. The operators start their engines before the smoke clears. All 6 operators are at work within the hour. They do not wait for orders. Craters punched through the steel matting need immediate fill and regrade. Some are 12 feet deep. The Japanese expect the airfield to stay silent. It does not. By 1400 hours on October 14th, just 12 hours after the worst bombardment in Pacific combat, Henderson Field is operational again. Aircraft begin landing. The repair effort required over 60 individual crater fill operations, completed entirely by the 6 operator section. The operators work without protective cab armor. Their machines have no overhead cover, no blast shields, no protection beyond the steel skin of the dozer itself. Every repair run is a deliberate decision to drive a slow, unarmored machine toward incoming fire. The men develop a dark clarity about the work. One operator from Illinois, a former highway contractor, describes it simply: "You fix the hole because the pilots need to fly. You do not think past the next pass." That is how all 6 of them survived October. October 23rd to 26th, 1942, the battle for Henderson Field. Japanese infantry attacks from the south while the bulldozers run their nightly repair cycle on the strip above. The 6 operators hold a section of the perimeter at night with rifles and return to the machines at dawn. The Japanese ground assault on Henderson Field fails. Marine and Army defenders hold the perimeter. By October 26, the attack is broken. So the 6 operators return to full repair operations before the last shot is fired. Henderson Field never closes. Through October 1942, Henderson Field endures over 200 Japanese bombing sorties. The 6 operators complete documented crater repairs after each attack, often completing fill and regrade within the operational window between aircraft sorties. 0 runways are lost permanently. November brings a decisive shift. The naval battle of Guadalcanal, November 13th to 15th, and shatters the last Japanese effort to bombard the field by sea. Replacement aircraft and fuel begin arriving in quantity. Henderson Field stops surviving. It starts thriving. By mid-November, additional Seabee equipment arrives, including proper American-built Caterpillar and Alice Chalmers bulldozers. The 6 operators who held the field through the worst months are not relieved. They train the new crews, then keep working. So the runway is now officially designated Bomber 1, a fully operational Pacific airfield. Its final length exceeds 5,100 feet with proper drainage, continuous Marston matting, and a coral gravel base that no bomb crater can permanently disable. December 1942, the Japanese High Command concedes Guadalcanal. The evacuation of their forces begins. Henderson Field, which Imperial planners never believed the Americans could hold and operate, has been the single decisive asset of the entire campaign. The 6 operators who kept Henderson Field open during the worst months of the campaign received no special decoration for their bulldozer work. The Seabee motto, Construmus Bituimus, we build, we fight, covers everything they did. The machines did the rest. What the operators built was not just a runway. Every bomb strike that failed to shut the field for more than a few hours represented a Japanese tactical defeat. 6 bulldozers and 6 men turned every attack into a repaired surface. The enemy could not outlast them. The Seabee model developed at Henderson Field, pre-staged crater crews, rapid response fill operators, and continuous runway maintenance under fire becomes doctrine for the Pacific campaign. Every island airfield battle that follows uses this template. Guadalcanal wrote the manual. The bulldozer in the hands of these 6 operators at Henderson Field was not a support asset. It was a combat multiplier. Every sortie that flew from that repaired strip, every Japanese ship sunk, every convoy turned back, traces its operational margin back to those blades. Today, Henderson Field's exact coordinates sit beneath Honiara International Airport, the active commercial airport serving the Solomon Islands capital. Aircraft still take off from the same Lunga Point ground where the 6 operators fought their bulldozer war in 1942. The names of the 6 Seabee operators who formed Henderson Field's primary crater crew are not recorded in individual citation documents. History kept the unit records. What it did not always keep the names of the men who drove the machines. That is a failure worth naming. What we know with certainty, they were experienced construction operators in their 30s. They came from highway work, dam projects, and infrastructure crews across America. The Navy recruited them because they could run heavy iron under any condition. They proved that true. In the final accounting of the Guadalcanal campaign, Henderson Field held for 6 months against daily air attack, naval bombardment, infantry assault, and artillery fire. The 2 things that made this possible, the Marines who held the perimeter and the operators who held the runway. The Cactus Air Force flew from Henderson Field through December 1942, ultimately denying Japan control of the Solomon Islands and the ability to sever Allied supply routes to Australia. And every one of those sorties launched from a surface that 6 operators refused to let die. The bulldozer at Henderson Field is still there in a sense. The ground it graded is still an airfield. The logic it imposed, that you can hold any position as long as you can repair the ground beneath you, is still true everywhere people build under pressure. 6 operators proved it.